Hello, this is Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, and I would like to welcome you to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy, a podcast that takes a look at stories of life and leadership for smart, amazing women and men like you.
The most important thing is showing up. Don't think that you have to bring anything. Bring yourself, show up, and remain steadfast and be yourself.
If you are in a position of leadership and a position of management, bring women along with you.
Supporting women is my passion and my purpose, and talking with other women and men who promote women's leadership is one of my favorite things to do.
I've yet to meet a woman who did not know what she really wanted. She was just either afraid to ask the questions or she was afraid of what the answers meant.
Their stories connect us and help us to understand that the possibilities are endless if we support each other and lift other women up.
Trust is created by persistent identity. I show up as myself time and time and time again, and trust is built. It's one conversation at a time.
Hello, I'm Dr. Nancy O'Reilly, and I'm very, very pleased to welcome Lucina Meco to Smart Amazing Conversations with Dr. Nancy. Lucina describing herself as a recovering political activist. She is also a global expert on gender equality. Born and raised in Italy, she has been working in international development and women's rights for the last 20 years, supporting a wide range of international nonprofits, foundations, and UN agencies around the world. Her groundbreaking study, She Persisted: Women, Politics, and Power in the Next Media World, is the foundation of her mission to tackle gender disinformation around in all forms of social media. It features interviews with over 85 women leaders in 30 countries. Lucina has written on gendered disinformation for some of the world's leading think tanks, including the Brookridge Foundation Institution, the Council of Foreign Relations, and Apolitical, as one of the 100 most influential people in gender policy for her efforts in the fight of gendered disinformation and to promote women's rights for us all. So I'm so pleased to have you with me today. I want to talk about you, but I think we can begin a conversation very quickly. But how women get involved in what they do, to me, is the most important thing of all. Because Lucina, they probably said, well, she's beautiful, she's intelligent, things are so simple for her. And we women are we have a very bad knack of comparing ourselves to other people and believe, and those comparisons sometimes get us in trouble. But I know that your journey has no doubt been one of ups and downs. So I want to know about your personal story and how you got to be you, the person I'm talking to today. Welcome.
Yes, well, thank you very much. Absolutely, I would agree. I think that personal stories, and particularly for women, are really full of ups and downs, including because of the challenges that women face, oftentimes the discrimination. I think it's also a journey in many ways of discovery. So in my case, I got interested in gender equality work when I was working at the United Nations in Mexico, which was my first really real job, foundational job, after having studied development economics. And at that time, I took a course on gender equality. And that work really changed my life in many ways, because I realized that so many of the challenges that I personally was facing and many of the realities I saw weren't my individual realities and individual challenges, but challenges that in fact are very common to women around the world. And so that sparked my journey on the gender equality world, and starting to work as a women's rights activist and gender equality expert for a number of different nonprofits after the UN. At the same time, I've also always had a passion for politics. I studied political science in Italy and really was very attracted to that world, and at some point started also being more active, particularly with the Italian community in the United States and in New York in particular, and started serving for a political party, the Italian Democratic Party, basically representing Italians living abroad within the party. And so at that time, I really saw again so many of the challenges that women face in a context, in an environment like politics that is so male dominated, frankly, and where so many of the things that women, can bring to the table are often disregarded or looked at as weaknesses, such as, for example, empathy and a different way of decision making. So this, really sparked my interest even further in continuing that work on the women's political participation side of things in particular. And a few years ago, I got the opportunity of doing a study really on the relationship between women in politics and social media. At that time, I had already been working on women's political participation for a while in a few different ways. And so this was really an opportunity for me to start looking at this specific aspect in a way that also felt very true to me, because many of the things that I ended up discovering were things that I had also experienced firsthand in my political activism.
All the common things, yeah, absolutely. Well, again, 85 women and 30 countries. She persisted is so right on. I mean, awareness is key. We are in an information age, but there's so many things that we don't understand. I'm just gonna start out with some of the things that can really bring us to the forefront of many of the things that you're doing. Hillary Clinton is a very good example of what happened to a woman in politics that was basically discredited. They talked about her clothes, they talked about her weight. They never talked about her credentials. They talked about ways, and they would say that she is hated. I mean, the point is that the media and you call it disinformation is so important, because people, they believe everything they see and everything they read, and it's just, it just makes me so angry. It makes me so angry that again, I truly believe Hillary Clinton, they threw out more stuff about her personally, and then they threw out things at the end of towards the end of that election that basically caused her to lose that election. And, I went to bed that night thinking she'd won, and I woke up the next morning completely surprised. But again, women that take on any kind of political or leadership role or something that they show up in public, they become targets, correct?
Absolutely, yes. And this is something I'm seeing and hearing over and over again. Unfortunately, in fact, Hillary Clinton is almost a textbook case for the harms, in particular disinformation against women in politics, because so many absurd stories were thrown against her. And even if each and every one of them was disproved, it didn't matter, because those stories ended up reinforcing existing misogyny, existing negative attitudes and distrust towards women in politics that was enough for many people to just discount her. Truth is, women in politics and women leaders is still a relatively new thing. In many countries around the world, including many countries in the Western world, a woman leader is almost a contradiction in terms still. we are very unused to thinking of women as being assertive, as being leaders, as being decision makers. And it's kind of like a new paradigm that we need to establish. And any small, threat to that establishment, to that new image that you're trying to create in our minds of a woman leader, is enough to bring us back to old biases, to old thoughts of, well, maybe women are not good enough. And so there are many that take advantage of those biases to spread those stories, because they know even if the stories are false, they are gonna work to
they're gonna run her out. Well, they're calling this the Great Resignation, which is, again, women have been leaving the workforce right and left. Again, there are many women that have been in five, large corporation, Fortune 500 companies that finally go, I can't do this anymore. The higher they get on the chain of leadership, finally they just go, I'm not going to do this anymore. And we have some of the most talented, most amazing women walking out the door of these corporations. And so now we've had this, since COVID, we've had this mass resignation of women, and we need to get women back to work, but they have to feel safe, supported, and feel that they can be, they can work in an environment that appreciates their talents and their abilities. And it's okay. Let's, and in fact, I sent something, believe it or not, I sent something from your website yesterday to Facebook, which was, I think, even more important, because the woman that was speaking used to work at Facebook, about the disinformation, the issues that she was having working at Facebook because of some of the things that they were doing for this disinformation. But talk about hate and misogyny, because I think I sent this and I said, this is about hate and misogyny. And if you don't know what the word misogyny means, no reason to move forward in watching this video. So talk about that, because that is a definition, that is a term that we need to know and we need to understand, because it says exactly what we're talking about.
I mean, we definitely absolutely look at the hate and misogyny, a lot of abuse against women in politics, in particular online. We also look at a specific aspect that we think is really understudied and very interesting to get us to the bottom of the problem, which is gender disinformation. And so the spread of false and misleading information, content, and images against women leaders. Oftentimes we see it against women journalists, women in politics in particular, with the specific goal of undermining them and basically silencing them, eliminating them in many contexts as political opponents. So the gendered element of this is both in the target, because we are seeing women overwhelmingly being targeted with abusive, negative content, as well as with false stories and false images, doctored fake nudes, deep fakes featuring women in acts of non-consensual pornography. Those are actual realities for very many women leaders around the world, including in the United States. And so we think that this is something that's particularly interesting to look at, because it shows us very clearly not only the role of misogyny, but the roles that digital platforms have in enabling and incentivizing this type of content.
Well, I don't know how much you've looked at our website, but again, this is another piece, a very important piece of what we're doing. But Women Connect for Good has one mission and one mission only, which is the mission is to support other women. We could stop this if we all came together and said no more, and gathered up the men and the people who definitely thought, again, there's great strength in numbers. Now, I know your study, you've got these women, you've got these different countries. Are you all coming together as a group Women Connect for Good would love to partner. This is what we do. We partner with organizations. World Pulse is a community, is a global community. We are looking for organizations and communities that we can continue to serve and to help as far as getting the messages out. But we know one thing, Lucina, one thing for sure, that when we support each other, like we're doing today, anything is possible, and we can stop the gender disinformation, and we can stop, people should stop reading and believing everything they see and they hear. And at the same time, women have to see leaders, and women in politics, and women in all types of leadership roles and social media, that are great role models for other women, and they mentor one another. So, I understand all of this. I mean, I get it, but it's again, what is the solution? What are you doing? What is your organization doing to, you talk about the problem. I read everything on the website. I really like what you're doing, but what is the solution? What do you see as the solution to stop this? Because we have to have women leaders. But the research shows over and over again, women in top leadership roles of corporations are extremely successful. They're making money. Women that sit on boards of corporations help to the bottom line, which is to make money, create relationships within the organization, as well as relationships outside the organization. So, there's lots of information. There's lots of that's the disinformation. I mean, that's how to do it: is you show information. This is accurate. That's not. So, what are you doing? What is your solution? And I'll stop for a moment here.
Absolutely. We think that there are three key areas that are essential to get to a solution of this. And let me begin by saying that I believe that a solution is absolutely possible. Very substantial improvements in a solution, because this is a problem that doesn't happen by chance but by design. And by design, I mean how social media platforms are designed today to optimize profit at the expense of social cohesion and even women's rights. So, three essential elements. Number one, raise further awareness. Over and over, I hear, oh, aren't women attacked the same as men online? The truth is that it's not. Each and every time you run the data, you find out that women are attacked exponentially more than men. So raise awareness that this isn't a problem that has to be, that there is a reason why the problem is there. And the reason isn't only misogyny, it's also the fact that those social media platforms are really designed in a way that incentivizes, rewards hate, rewards outrage, rewards all kinds of negative content and all kinds of outrageous images too. Because again, those fake news images.
Isn't it also the money that's behind what they're doing? The there's always the money. There's the money person that's saying, "Here's what I want you to do," because I can sell more products, I can sell more services if you do these things.
Absolutely. So I think that the first is really understanding the problem and understanding the impact also of the problem. That's why we do the research, because over and over again we hear women, and young women in particular, telling us, actually, I was considering a political career, but after seeing how this and this politician, and of course Hillary Clinton comes up, in many ways as number one, I do not want to do it anymore because the cost is just too high on my personal well-being and so on. So number one, really understanding the impact of the problem and where the problem comes for. Number two, you identified it so clearly, working with women. I think that women can absolutely be and have to be the solution to this problem. There is no way that we would have the kind of social media we have today had it not been designed by a small group of young white men. And so I really think it's really important to work with women leaders and women in politics in strengthening what we call their digital resilience, their ability to respond to disinformation attacks, and to really understand also how they can push forward different legislations and different policies in their own countries so that they can really be supportive of women's rights and of women's free speech, frankly. Because again, we often hear about the freedom of speech as something that's in contradiction almost with the stronger digital platform standards. But the truth is that today there is no freedom of speech for the millions of women that are, harassed online, their information is stolen, targeted with lies, targeted with fake images that at times put, frankly, their lives, in danger.
Jeopardy, yeah, their lives and their families as well. Yeah, absolutely,
Absolutely,
absolutely.
absolutely.
I like
And
what you said though. I'm going to say this real quickly because I want it to be I want it to be recorded. Is that yes, it's young white male men building these social platforms, but it's old white guys paying for it. So I'm gonna throw that out there, and I think this is what we've got to understand is that we need to be the money people. We need to be the creators of the social platform. So go ahead. I had to throw it in there. I had to do it.
absolutely, no, thank you. And so, in addition to understanding the problem and in addition to supporting the women leaders, there is also really a third element of advocating for better digital platform standards in coalition with a number of other wonderful women's organizations and allies. We work to make sure that whenever there are negotiations for better policies, and many of those will have to come from governments because we have seen social media platforms being unwilling to really even just stand by their own standards
Yeah.
because they say that hate speech is not allowed, and then ultimately this is the reality on their platforms. They aren't investing enough money, enough time
Well,
on
they're not
building a
watching. They're
solution.
not watching. They're not checking their. They say it, but there's nobody out there reinforcing or enforcing these regulations and these guidelines. And so, what can you do? We're trying. This is what we're trying. But we saw also that this past president was basically banned from social media because of some of the things that he was saying. So we know it can happen. We know it can happen if the right people and the money follows and dictates what occurs now in social media. So really, it's numbers and it's power and it's political positioning and it's women coming together with men who care. I mean, it's not just we can't do it with just women. I know that. We can't do that. Women connect for good can't do it. We all have to work together. But again, I think the most important thing, Lucina, is awareness. And what you're doing and the study is so valuable, and reaching out and continuing to pound the pavement and let people know what's going on, but also continue to let people know who's doing what, who is actually your stories are so valuable.
Yeah,
I
and
really, I
I
really,
have more research that I'm carrying out right now of
okay.
particular gender disinformation stories in a number of different countries, also outside of the United States and Western Europe, where we have a lot, or at least we have some data and some information. But in many countries, around the world, we actually see women being at the forefront of the fight against authoritarians,
Exactly.
against illiberal actors, and we cannot afford losing them to disinformation. And so
We want
our
those.
studies look,
We want those stories. We want
yes.
those stories. We can help you by sharing your stories and sharing your platform. And so, some of the things that we do are very simple. Simple. We've got what they call the Lift Women Up campaign, and it's very simple. We would love for you to participate. Again, partnering is the way we get things done. Collaboration is the way we get things done. So, I guess what this is your first introduction to me, and two, Women Connect for Good. But this is what we do. This is how we get things done. We don't do it by ourselves. We bring lots and lots of organizations and communities together to do that. And our global reach is extremely important to us. This is what we want to develop more and more. And maybe there's ways that you can help us with that, and we can help you to continue to get your messages out. So, I'm very first of all, congratulations. Thank you for what you're doing. This is not an easy road. I'm sure you have also received. The bigger women get, the bigger their pants get, the bigger women get. There's always someone who says, "Who does she think she is?" And so it's important for us to say, "Well, here's who I am. I am here to change the way the media uh, is given, is put into the public's what they read, what they see, that is positive about women leaders and women in politics." Uh, so how can we? Where do we begin? How do you want us to help?
Well, thank you very much. We love to partner with all kinds of actors, and an organization and a network like yours is extremely valuable. We would love for people that have an interest in this topic to go on our website, to
Yeah,
reach out to us and see how they want to get involved, because again, maybe it is doing a campaign, maybe on social media itself, and kind of like talking about this issue. Maybe it is looking at which kind of legislation is being promoted and getting informed about that, and why some types of legislation are better than other. Maybe it is donating. So I think that there are many different ways for people to get involved. Probably starting with having a look at our website would be a first step, and then figuring out what's the best way for people to actually find their feet and find their strength, and in whatever way that is engaging for them.
yeah. Tell me something that really uh, tell me something that has excited you about what you're doing, and that you see you're making progress.
I am incredibly excited about everything in this work.
Well, but it's still
I
something that's going
Yes,
on right now that you're. I mean, and we all need that. I mean, I used to believe I was out there beating on my drum and nobody cared.
I totally
about,
I totally
about women
understand, and
supporting each other, I thought nobody cared.
yeah, the road ahead is really long. There is a lot still to be done, but I think we have made immense progress from where we started. So I started talking a couple of years ago about gender disinformation, coined a definition for it, came up with the term, started observing it as part of the study that I carried out. And at that time, again, there wasn't even the term gender disinformation. Nobody recognized or talked about that. Fast forward 2 years, Maria Ressa, the journalist who won the Nobel Prize for Peace, talked in her acceptance speech about gender disinformation as one of the greatest threats to democracy today. So this is the type of impact that I have seen us having, where gender disinformation is now a reality that, if you want, has been accepted, where experts, where many women recognize that this is something that we have to grapple with. Where I think we still need to make a further connection is, to make sure that it goes from the looking at the problem to moving towards a solution for the problem. And that's where it gets trickier, because that's where not everybody has the same interest, frankly, in solving the problem. And that's where we need to make sure that there is further awareness and more people working on this side of things.
Well, there are organizations right now. I mean, there is a group of uh, Take the Lead, which is a national, international women's training program. Again, one of the biggest things, of course, is gender equality and gender equity. But they have a group of just strictly women who've gone through the training, that are social media experts. So there are groups of women that are out there. Not only do they network with each other, but they network with projects, and your project I think would be so phenomenal. So I need to connect you with Gloria Felt and take the lead, which I'm also a board member of. So we'll do that. But again, you're talking about this woman. What was her name again? That got I know I should know her name. That received it. What was it again?
Maria Ressa, who
Okay.
is a journalist from the
A
Philippines.
journalist. Okay. Well, we need more of those women to be able to step forward and receive those awards. That's our goal. The more we have, the better we all will be. So, well, I congratulate you what you're doing. We have to create awareness. If a lot of people walk around and they act like everything's fine or it's not my problem. No, it is all our problem. It is all our problem. If the world is not a peaceful, wonderful place to live, it's all of our problems. So, congratulations on what you're doing. Continued success. We will want to continue to help you in this mission because it really is very much a part of Women Connect for Good. Women supporting other women. Until we all do that, we're going to continue to have these issues. But we want to all, because we also know we're all in this together. So again, what is the website again and where do they go? One more time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So the website is www.she-persisted.org. And this is really the concept and the truth of the reality that I have seen talking with so many women leaders around the world. Things aren't easy, but you can be sure women are persistent. They will be persisting. We will not be silenced. We will not step back. Yeah. So it's just about making sure that we get to the progress where we need to get to faster. But have no doubt, we are not stepping back. No doubt. We are not returning
we're going to get
the
there.
Old times.
Yeah, no, we have to keep moving forward and use our voices and come together for good. So, Lucina, thank you so much. Congratulations. You haven't seen the last of me.
Thank you so much. I am so looking forward to what's next.
If you enjoy these smart, amazing conversations, please subscribe, rate, and review them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And read and enjoy more amazing stories in my books, In This Together, How Successful Women Support Each Other in Work and Life, and Leading Women, 20 Influential Women Share Their Secrets to Leadership, Business, and Life. Thank you for listening.